Okay, so today's session is not all about me. I have a very, very special guest called Tiffany Higgins, and Tiff is going to talk. She's going to talk about, as you probably know from the title of the session, scaling your solopreneur practice. So with that said, I'm going to bring Tiffany on. And if you have any questions, by the way, stick them in the comments box at any point in time and put a QQ in front, and I will answer questions. Hi there, Tiffany. How's things? It's great to have you on the session for today. I have a few questions for you because I'm dying to find out a bit more about what you're up to, how you help people scale their solopreneur practice. I'm sure we may get some questions from other people as well. So when they come up in the feed, I will read them out to you and we can deal with those questions. I guess the first thing we'll start with then, Tiffany, is a bit about your background, about how you got into business, about how long you've been in the accounting profession, what your practice is like.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. I actually kind of started my journey in the accounting space when I was 16 in my first accounting class in high school. That's kind of where I knew I was going to start my journey in accounting. And of course, after high school, got my accounting degree and then started as an auditor for the state of Missouri and worked for various accounting positions. But then I had kids and things changed your perspective when you become a parent sometimes. And so kind of struggled with the back and forth between how do I want to be a parent and how do I want to have a career. And so after my first couple of kids grew up a little bit, got into school, I decided I really want to be a CPA. I want to work in a CPA firm. And so I went that direction. Worked for about 4 years for a CPA firm and got my CPA license and then decided to have another kid. And so when I had my third child, I was kind of met with that same thing all over again with how do I have this career that I love? I love accounting. I love bookkeeping. And how do I be a good parent? So at that point, I decided it was time to finally take the plunge and become a solopreneur myself and do this kind of work from home on a flexible schedule, and instead of working in an actual firm, helping to make other people successful. So in 2015, I started my journey as a bookkeeping business owner, and it just was kind of a wild ride. Within about 7 months, I had enough clients that completely covered all of our bills, our normal monthly take-home pay. So I was even able to let my husband retire from his job. And then for the next several years, we just slowly grew the bookkeeping business and worked from home, traveled, got to take vacations because we did everything virtually. And it really changed our family's life. But then I got to 2019 and I had a girl working for me who also was kind of in the same situation that I was in back in the day and had a baby at home, wanted to utilize her accounting career as well. So she said she was going to start a bookkeeping business. And I just had this thought, well, I can coach her. I can help her do it. And then from there, our coaching program, our Bookkeeper Academy, was born. And so in addition to having a bookkeeping accounting practice myself, we now actually coach and teach other people to have their own bookkeeping and accounting practices so that they can have live the life of their dreams as well and be able to work in the bookkeeping space on a flexible schedule.
Awesome. What a great introduction. And so if I've got that right, you've got three children. Is that right?
I had 3, and then during the course of running my bookkeeping business, I actually had twins as well.
Oh, wow.
So
okay.
We have 5. Yep.
Wow. Okay. That is challenging. I have 3. Normally people, if I switch can see my three just here. I have three, and a bit like you, my first Gabby was born in 1990. Actually, I should know when she was born. She was born in 1999, and I was 3 years into my business right then and trying to grow it, and it does create some challenges growing a business and having children as well. I couldn't imagine doing it with 5. That's quite impressive.
I do have help, thankfully.
Yep, that's good. Okay, I can see Meb is here from Illinois, so I'll just say hi to you. Okay, so let's. I think what I'd like to dive into. I know we're going to cover a lot about scaling a solopreneur business and so on. I think before we get there, I know you want to talk about pricing as well. But when you started your business, what were some of the big challenges that you had? What were some of the difficulties that you had and that you faced that you knew you needed to overcome?
Yeah, probably a lot of that shifting from the employee mindset into becoming an entrepreneur was kind of a huge shift. You kind of get into this spot being an employee where you're trading your time for money, for a paycheck. And so when you transition into being an entrepreneur, you don't really want to do that. Because that really limits what you can do as a business owner. So learning how to kind of break out of trading time for money was a huge lesson that I wasn't expecting to have to learn when I first started. So that was definitely one of the biggest, aside from also learning the other things that come along with being an entrepreneur that you don't have to worry about when you're an employee, such as marketing, learning how to do marketing, learning how to talk to people in a sales conversation, mastering the whole quoting process, and not having anyone to ask questions to, like a boss. So when you're an entrepreneur, you're kind of on your own. You got to learn how to figure things out when you don't have a boss to go to.
Okay, fascinating. And so when you were talking about that swapping time for money, I'm guessing some of that challenge was perhaps down to the way that we price in the profession. We're not very good at pricing generally, which obviously is a subject quite close to my heart. Do you want to talk a bit about how your approach to pricing, perhaps what some of the challenges with pricing, what you did, how you started to price your services? Because I know people want help with that whole issue.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a challenge to figure out how to price, especially when you're new. You don't have anything to base it off of, for sure. So you kind of have to experiment a little bit, and kind of get to know your ideal client a lot and develop, procedures, and realize how long things do take you and what kind of value you are actually providing business owners, and be able to talk about that value as well. But what really helped me, was following people like you, Mark. When I went to QuickBooks Connect, sitting in on your presentations, and other people in the industries that were actually making really good money and loving their business, not getting into a business where you work even more as a business owner than you did as an employee for someone else, and feeling resentful and stressed out and hating your business. So I've tried to find all those people like you and various other people that I met, when I first started my business, following in their footsteps, trying to go after a business that I could really love.
Okay, and just keeping with that theme of pricing, just for a little bit longer. So what were some of the specific things that you did, the specific approaches that you? And it was interesting, you said you first met me at QB Connect. What sort of things did you implement? What strategies?
Yeah, so I played around with pricing quite a bit, but what I found in the end that really worked out well was to have fixed packages and kind of lump some clients into that. So that way it made it a little bit easier to quote, and easier to scale. If you perhaps got lucky enough to have like 4 or 5 clients come to you, new clients in a week, it'd be really easy to stick them in a package that you've put together based on different criteria. One of the criterias that I have always really tried to price my clients on is their annual revenue, figuring out, how large of a company they are and pricing services appropriately. Is the bigger they are, the more that they really need clarity around what's going on with their finances and their tax situation. So using that as one of the tools to put people into fixed packages was what I did.
Okay, great. You talked a bit about earlier when I asked you what kind of the challenges that you face, and you talked about swapping time for money. You then went on to talk as well that another thing that you had to overcome and learn was marketing. So talk about the growth of your business and how what works for you when it comes to getting clients, growing the business. What marketing works for you?
Yeah, okay. I actually really love to talk about marketing. I could probably talk about it all day. What I found is, like, you probably wouldn't know from just watching me on this interview, but I'm actually an introvert, which most accountants are and bookkeepers are, I would say. So we don't typically like marketing. We don't typically like sales. But what I have found in this industry, because our services are so needed, that all you have to do is make friends with people. It's super simple. Like, it's as simple as that. And being in a position where you can help someone, as long as they know you and they know what you do, at some point, if they're a business owner, they're going to be in a position to potentially need your help. So just being available, being open enough to creating relationships with people and talking to people, that's really the majority of what you have to do. So the quickest way, if you want to grow your business, what I found is doing actual networking. It can be in person, it can be, over Zoom, whatever. It can even be in Facebook groups, but just building relationships with people and being that, resource to them if they need help. You don't have to give them free help, free advice, but just knowing that they can come to you if they need help in this area and that you're available is really awesome for business owners to have you as a resource. So basically, marketing to me has always just been to make more friends and be a good friend and be a good person to them. And not only will you gain them as clients, but you will get referrals from them as well.
Okay, that's a really interesting perspective, and I thought it was interesting what you said about you're an introvert, which I am as well, and many people in the profession certainly are. And so I was a bit surprised when you then said that networking works so well. And you mentioned networking really in terms of physical events you mentioned and Zoom calls. Actually, in other words, actually talking with people, which some accountants and bookkeepers find quite scary. And then Facebook and social media for networking. Tell me a little bit about how much time do you devote in, let's say, a typical week to networking, and how do you split that between networking that's talking to people, whether it's networking events, getting out there, and how much time do you spend on social media networking with people?
Yeah, those are great questions. Sorry, I thought I was froze for a second. Those questions are really great. And I think it depends on the space that each person is in their business. So, you can spend 1 hour a week networking if you're not in super growth mode. So for instance, when my business was pretty stable, I liked where it was, and I got pregnant with the twins, and then afterwards I was nursing twins, so I didn't do any marketing or networking. And so that's what I think is the beauty about this kind of business. You can turn it on and off whenever you feel like it, but at the beginning I probably spent a good 10 hours a week doing networking, maybe even 20 hours a week doing networking if you count all of the virtual and social media networking that we were doing as well. So it can really be to whatever your personal schedule is. But I will say consistency is the biggest thing. So if you want to do, let's say you want to join a referral group, usually those groups will take anywhere from like 4 to 5 hours a week of your time to really be effective, to really get the most out of it. So if that's all you have to devote to it, then devote all of that, but do it consistently every week. So whatever you decide to do, just doing it consistently each week is going to be what is the real game changer. So whether you do 4 hours, 10 hours a week, I don't think it matters too much as long as you're consistent.
Okay, and I agree with that. Consistency is a really important word, and being consistent with marketing. I talk a lot about doing things like, whether it's doing some videos, doing blog posts or whatever, there's no point in doing one or two and then never again. You've got to find what's a good level of consistency for you, what you can realistically do, and then be consistent with that. So yeah, that was fascinating. What do you find most effective for you when it comes to networking? Is it the physical networking, talking to people, or do you find that social media is more effective?
Yeah, I'd say, it really depends. Both of them are really equally effective. For me, I I liked to do the in-person stuff just simply because I could get a better read on people, and you can build relationships faster that way. And even though I'm an introvert, what I liked about the networking meetings is that you could kind of tone it down to like one person. So it wasn't like you were getting up presenting, in front of all these people all the time. You were usually having like side conversations at these events and just meeting one person. And I guess I sort of got addicted to that because I realized, you meet one person, you never know what that one person, how that person can impact your life. And I ran into so many individuals throughout networking that just completely changed my life, that it's almost exciting to meet more people at that point. But I also have a lot of students in my academy, especially in the era and the time that we're at right now. And so many people are working from home and virtual now that it's gotten a little bit easier to network online. And I have a couple of students that have grown really amazing bookkeeping businesses at the same time that they were running an in-home daycare. And so they literally couldn't network in person or even virtually because they didn't have the time or the schedule to be able to do that. So, just communicating with people in different Facebook groups and putting yourself out there as a person with the resources to be able to help people with questions around bookkeeping, accounting, their finances, that can be a really great way to build relationships without actually having to go anywhere and network in person.
That's great. And one of the things, it was interesting you've been saying all that, because one of the questions I get or see frequently in Facebook groups of perhaps bookkeepers more than accountants, but to some extent both, when people are starting up, the question that I often see is, how do I win clients? How do I start to build this business? And I think back to when I started my own accounting firm as a sole practitioner back in 1996. And I think to start with, you just have to get out there. You just have to talk to people. You have to make connections. So it was interesting you saying that there isn't really a shortcut to getting started. You just have to get it out to as many places as you possibly can.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, actually, like taking a step, taking action, even if it's really small, you just take one step and then you take another step and another step. And before you know it, you're making $200,000 a year. And,
Okay, thank you. I'm just going to remind people right now that if anyone's got a question for Tiff, I've got questions, I'll keep going. But if you've got a question, stick it in the comments box, put QQ in front. We've got a few comments. Michael says, hello from Memphis. He's in Tennessee. And I don't know if you know Angela. Angela says, well, Tiffany. Oh, no, she said, oops, well said, Tiffany. So Angela agrees with you, which is great. So that's cool. But if anyone has got any questions, stick QQ in front, ask away, let us know what questions that you have. What do you want to know? Is there anything that you want, anything that Tiffany says you want to expand on and open up? So we've talked a bit about pricing, we've talked about marketing. What I suppose what we'll get into next a little bit is what the title of the session is, how to scale your solopreneur. And let's start with How did you do that? What were the things that you did in your business to start to scale, and what were some of the challenges that you had doing that?
Yeah, you have some challenges scaling because you have to put some good procedures in place to be able to be efficient. So you want to make sure you're efficient. Um, some of the things that we recommend in our students, we have a mastermind where we help our bookkeeping business owners, solopreneurs, take their practice to the next level, build a team, scale it. So a few of the things that we recommend that they do is, pick one program. We recommend using QuickBooks Online. It's what we're most familiar with. But if you have a different one, Xero or whatever is the most best program for you in your area, just pick one and go with it. Trying to learn a bunch of different programs, trying to master 1,000 different apps can be really overwhelming and really slow you down. So you have to be efficient. And then you also have to price your services correctly. So you want to make sure that you're able to provide a lot of value for your clients, but also get paid accordingly for that value. One of the things that I've learned just having a coaching program is that the more you can charge clients, the more you can help them. And we've found that over and over again in our coaching program, whereas the profit margins rise, the more resources that we can bring in to really help clients, and the less overextended that everyone on the team feels. So if you want to really have some true time freedom and some true financial freedom, pricing is going to be one of the most important pieces to all of this, because it'll allow you to build a really awesome team full of leaders under you. So having a director of operations to oversee all of your team, those people are a really important asset for your company to be able to let you focus on the things that you do best, such as maybe sales and marketing or business development. If you offer CFO services, you can do the CFO services while your director of operations oversees the other team members carrying out bookkeeping, tax planning, tax preparation, things like that. So if you price your services correctly, you'll have the profit margin to be able to hire a really healthy and awesome team that can help you get to the next level, which is also in itself very rewarding. We have 26 people on our team right now, and it's been a life-changing career opportunity for each and every one of them. So, but it wouldn't be possible if we didn't have, a great profit margin.
Okay, you've said some really good things there that I thought I'd just pick up on, and I have seen some questions coming as well, so we'll probably go to a few other questions. Yeah. It was interesting what you said, and I 100% agree with it, is think about, if it's software, for example, pick the one system that you're going to use. Because I think that one of the mistakes that we make in business is to try and please everybody, to do all things. And you can't systemize a business trying to do everything. You have to be really, really clear. You can't go into McDonald's and expect to buy, a bowl of fish soup, because they don't do that. They have their menu and they systemize everything around that. And so it's our business. It's our business. We get to choose the rules of the game. And if that means we want to be the experts in QBO or Xero, we go down that route and we focus on that and systemize that route. So I loved that. And I also loved about the fact you talked to, and again, because it comes back to pricing, which is my thing, about creating that time freedom. And I think the problem that I see over and over again with our profession, with bookkeepers, accountants, particularly bookkeepers, is undervaluing themselves, charging too low. Usually in the early years, and I did this way back in 1996 when I started my firm, I was way too cheap because I was just desperate to get business. And the problem is when you then start getting business because you're going in cheap, A, you're getting the wrong business, clients are going to cause you a problem. And secondly, you find yourself very soon becoming crazy busy. And thirdly, because your margins are low, you can't afford to hire people, because if you're charging too low a price, you end up in a situation where, and I know I have some other people I've spoken to about this, you end up working crazy hard just to be able to make enough money to pay everybody's salaries, but there's nothing left for you. And so lots of great points around that. I don't know if you want to add to that.
Yeah, I love it too, because it's all so true. And I've seen it over and over and over again with colleagues and with students that, we've coached to help raise their prices. So I'd say, most of it comes down to money blocks. I think people need to work on their money mindset. But the other thing is, at the beginning, we all do this. So you just got to learn from it fast, because you don't have a baseline. You don't understand exactly what you're doing right or wrong in the beginning. It's all new. So you just need to recognize those patterns, be really self-aware, and realize, okay, this client is taking a lot more of my time, a lot more of my energy, and I'm not going to be able to hire a team to handle this one. There would be nothing left for me. So how am I going to change that next time? And at what point is it going to be okay to let this client go or raise price?
Great. Let's get some other people's questions in. I can still keep asking questions, but let's. So this one, it might be a challenging one. It's a long one. It's from, I think their name. Well, I don't know what their real name is. Kinzazasta says, I'm struggling envisioning scalable package options that would include advisory services independent from my know-how. How do you approach that?
So I'm thinking what she's asking is if she's wanting to offer advisory services but isn't completely confident in her skills yet, potentially.
It's possible. I'm actually not too sure myself. So it may be you want to just clarify that question a bit, because we're both struggling a little bit. I know that a lot of people now are increasingly looking at offering advisory services, but then wondering how do you systemize, how do you automate advisory so that you can scale it? So any thoughts on that, Tiffany?
Yeah, I've got a couple of things to say with that. So first of all, when we have new people come into our Bookkeeper Academy, they've never done bookkeeping before at all, most of them. So they always ask this question: how can I charge, $500 a month for basic bookkeeping that's probably going to yield them $125 an hour when I don't know what I'm doing? And our response to that is always, are you going to do a bad job for them? Are you going to take their money and not produce, what they need? And they always say, no, of course I'm going to do a good job. Then you need to have that in mind. You're going to do whatever it takes to learn and to get really good at this skill and to give them what they need and what they have paid you for. So that's what you need to go in mind when you quote, not what you know right now, but what you're going to help the client accomplish. So then our students, oftentimes they want to offer advisory services and become a CFO and not just a bookkeeper. So we offer that in our Elite Mastermind, and it's the same situation. You have to price for what you know that it is worth. And if you don't know that, you need to get some help. You need to, reach out to Mark or find a mentor that can help you with pricing, so you have an idea of where to start and you don't undervalue your advisory services. But as you're learning, you're going to do whatever it takes to actually produce those results for the client. So in the beginning, you're probably going to be working a lot more than you would 6 to 12 months down the road. It's going to be easier for you. So all the more reason why you shouldn't discount your prices in the beginning, because you're going to bend over backwards for these new clients until you get this down perfect.
Yeah, great advice. Thank you. Okay, another question, but I'll do a couple of shout outs first, because we have someone from South Africa. Chris is here from South Africa. Hi there, Chris. And then from lots of people from the US. Sarah Ferb is here from Virginia. And Sarah's actually got the next question. So Sarah says, what are your top 3 to 5 value added services?
Okay, that's a great idea, or great question. So some of the other things that we coach our students to offer, in addition to just basic bookkeeping, is obviously payroll, obviously CFO related services. So helping them really understand their finances and find things that are, maybe not so good about their financials, comparing against industry standards, but also helping them make a plan to and make their budget work better for them, build a savings account, emergency fund for their business, understand their marketing dollars, where their marketing dollars are going. There's a lot of different directions you can take CFO services. And then we also teach our students to offer tax planning and possibly tax preparation. So,
Okay, great answer. Let's just see. Yeah, we've got a couple more questions. We'll do those, and then I might come in with a few. Parul Sood, who comes quite often to your sessions. Parul says, what is your process of onboarding a new client from start to end?
Oh, that's a great question. So we actually developed a automated onboarding program that our students utilize, and it's a back-end membership portal to our website that we design for our students. And when they get a new client, the client can actually go through this onboarding process for themselves. And the client will watch like a series of short videos explaining the whole process and what documents to gather and how to get them to each individual bookkeeper. We've also come across a new program called Liscio that seems to be really promising and as far as like expediting that process. But I think it all kind of comes down to, obviously you've got to get your engagement letter signed right away. That's the first step. Setting clear expectations with your client so they understand what your role is, what their role is, and then what they need to get to you in order for you to be able to help them get the most results out of your services. So once you set those expectations, then you can start gathering documents and then setting clear expectations for turnaround time. So if you've got a new client that's got cleanup work, you definitely want to stay in communication with them to make sure that they understand what it's going to take, and everybody's on the same page as far as expectations.
Okay, thank you. I hope that one helped, Parul. Next question is from Sarah Kelly. I think, Sarah, it might be quite a long question, this one, because there's a few bits to it. So Sarah says, with so many responsibilities, personally, 5 kiddos, and professionally, how do you manage your time and tasks? That's kind of the first part of the question. How do you manage time and tasks? And the second part of the question is, what apps do you use and recommend? Let's start with the time and tasks bit.
Okay. Yeah, this is always a work in progress, with 5 kids that they're all growing. So, you hit at various stages of their development and things change. I'm literally just now starting to sleep, normally like a normal human, and my twins are 3.5. So, every stage of your life is a little bit different with that. But as far as like kind of juggling that with the business, I actually had the opportunity to ask Barbara Cochran from Shark Tank this very same question. And I really wholeheartedly agree with her advice, and I'll share that with you guys. And it's really helped me maintain some sanity as well. Her advice is to build walls up around work and around your family. So when you're working, try not to let family intrude on that time so that you can be very efficient and get your work done. But also on the flip side, when you're with family, you need to build walls up around that and keep your business boundaries separate. Keep it separate so that you can really get the best of both. And trying to be all things to all the people in your life all the time is impossible and very draining. So managing your own expectations around what you can actually provide to people is helpful, and it can be hard. So, having a coach and a mentor in that space is always valuable. I've used various different apps, and sometimes I track my time and things like that, but it really usually boils down to having that mindset work and working with a coach on mindset, or just keeping my boundaries set and sticking to them.
Awesome, great. I hope that helps. I hope that helps Sarah with that answer. And I'm actually coincidentally, I'm doing my next live session is next week, next Wednesday, and it's how to find the time to get stuff done. So that stuff was hopefully helpful from Tiffany, and I'm going to spend a whole hour talking about getting
nice.
stuff done next week. Yeah, because I'm finding it's something that people are having a real challenge with. Very often, part of the root cause is pricing too low in the first place, which we've talked about a few times.
Yeah.
If you price too low, attract the wrong clients, you end up finding you are working crazy hours just to make ends meet. So get the pricing right. But yeah,
Yeah.
I'll talk about some other strategies next week as well.
Yeah.
Okay, this is I don't think it's a question, it's a comment, but I'll read it out anyway. Michaela says, from what you were saying earlier, completely describes the opposite of my business for the last 10 years. Our profit margin has been so small that I haven't been able to build the awesome team. That's why I'm here. Do you want to talk a little bit more about? So my last question I think was, how do you structure the firm for scale? And we started going down that route, and then we got some other questions came in. So talk a little bit about how you scale, how do you manage your team? Because you talked about the importance of systems earlier, but how do you manage the? And you said, do you have 26? I think you said you've got.
Yeah.
How do you manage that when you've got such a difficult personal life as well, with, as Sarah says, 5 kiddos?
Yeah. So, I've been kind of just going with the flow and learning as I go on managing that many people, and up until recently. And I actually hired myself a director of operations, which has been actually completely instrumental in giving myself some more time freedom back. She's been able to learn about our entire business, but also understand all of the team members' tasks and duties and responsibilities, and kind of take the managing of the team off of my plate so that I can do the other things that I really want to do. I want to focus on developing our program out and finding new leads and clients, and making sure that all of our clients are super happy, instead of just doing the work, really making sure that the work we're doing is impacting them. So it's given me the ability to do that. And I think being able to price your services in a way that you have enough money that you can afford a really awesome person on your team like that is basically like a partner. This person will make sure that everything is functioning correctly and running correctly in your business. And from there, hiring more team members under that person to carry out the duties and make sure that, everything, that they're actually completing the work that needs to be done for your clients. And in our mastermind program, we actually have a coach in there that walks all of our students through it individually so that they can make a plan and a blueprint and a roadmap for hiring all these team members out, because we know it's no easy task to find the right person and hire them and train them. So we kind of coach them on all the aspects of exactly how to locate those people, find the right people, who do you need on your team, help you diagnose like what exactly is going to be the next best position to hire.
Okay, great. I think I can hear the children in the background.
Yeah.
So we had a comment earlier from Denuel about loving Lisio, which you mentioned, which is great. Okay, next question I've got, again, got a long one. So Catherine Mayer says she's a bookkeeper looking to hire her first employee or contractor so she could take on more clients. How do you recommend paying? By the hour, by the project? Any advice is helpful.
Yeah, okay, there's a couple things that I recommend here. If you're really starting off small and this person is just going to be on a contract basis, maybe part-time, I personally recommend doing a percentage project-based. So usually around 30% is what works well for my students if they want to outsource the work. However, if you're really wanting to do this more frequently and you're really wanting to scale your business, you're going to have better luck if you hire full-time team members and pay them salary. Just because if they're full-time, they're going to be more involved, and they're going to care a little bit more about your business. And the more part-time people you have, the more time you're going to spend managing them. So there's a couple different ways you can go about. But those are the two paths that our students usually walk down. And once they've decided that they really want to take their business to the next level, we switch them over to hiring full-time people.
Oops, wrong button. So we got that. We got another question in from that.
Okay.
Forgive me, I'm not sure how to pronounce it. Kinzazasta, who's tried to rephrase the question. And I've got some thoughts on it. I'm not sure how to rephrase. I'm afraid that if I provide advisory services, I won't be able to scale in a way that would allow me personally to take any time off. My thoughts on that, and then I'll let you think about that as well, Tiffany, if you've got anything to add. My thoughts would be, the first thing I would ask myself the question is, do I want to focus on and be the expert on advisory, or am I better suited to compliance? Because if you're really going to build an advisory-based practice, it's got to be something that you're really passionate about and wanting to help clients grow their business and so on. Some people are more suited to compliance work, so I think you need to ask that question of yourself. If you are wanting to build advisory and that's what you want to do, I guess the next question is, do you want to build a practice that is just advisory? And you can build a very profitable business there, or do you want it to be off the back of a compliance-based firm? And if that's the case, I would suggest that the first thing you do is systemize, automate the compliance-based side of the business, because that's easier to automate than advisory. If you can automate the compliance work, then you can start to then work on you doing the advisory work, which is what I did in my accounting firm way back in 1999, 2000. I got really into advisory and consulting work. And what I did is I systemized all the compliance work. I stopped doing any form of compliance work very quickly, and I only did advisory work. And I did that because I enjoyed the advisory work. Having done the advisory, I then started to systemize it, and then I sold my accounting firm. So I'll just pull that question back up again. So I don't know if that helps with that. But Tiffany, if you've got any other thoughts around that whole issue.
Yeah, you brought up a good point. What do you like to do more? And I can give kind of an example from one of my students transitioning into this. She has a bookkeeping client, basic bookkeeping, a little payroll, and I believe they pay her $1,200 a month. And she's going to be transitioning into becoming their CFO and providing more advisory services, and she's going to be charging more like $5,000 a month. And really the only difference as far as her time is maybe going to be a couple extra meetings per week that she might have with them. So she's going to be able to take that money, hire a full-time team member to take over all of the actual compliancy work. So she's going to have a lot more time on her hands because she's actually not going to be doing that stuff. But she's going to be able to review what her team member is putting together and then be able to have meetings with the business owner and translate that data and work with the business owner directly. So it's actually probably going to free up a lot more of her time by offering both, by upgrading them and having her team member take care of the compliance work. So, but yeah, there's a couple different ways that you can do it. And I think really getting down to the clarity around what do you really want to do for clients is going to be the best start there.
Absolutely. That's the starting point of everything. What sort of business do you want to build? What's your passion? What's the type of client you want to work with? What's the type of work you want to do? Parol's got another question, a great question here. What's your biggest challenge in scaling? Is it time constraints, employee management, pricing, client satisfaction, or is it knowledge upgrading, or something else? Biggest challenge with scaling?
Well, for me, the biggest challenge has been team management. So, all of these different areas are skills that as entrepreneurs, we have to develop. So you don't just become a business owner and know exactly how to manage a team. You don't become a business owner and know exactly how to market or price your services or anything like that. So every area you have to really learn a lot about. And as you're growing a solopreneur practice, you kind of learn all of the other areas except for how to manage a team. So when you're scaling, that's going to be your biggest question, problem, concern is going to be all around managing a team. So for me, at that level, I didn't have the free time to be able to figure that part out and learn that. So I had to very quickly find somebody to help me do that on my team. So that was my biggest challenge, just learning the inner workings of working with people that have different personalities, different work ethics, different styles, different communication. That can be a challenge. So, but for me, finding that person that was very skilled in that area that could help me communicate with my team, so that we're all happy, has been a complete game changer.
That's a great perspective, great answer. And I agree 100%. I think that people underestimate the importance of continually learning. There's an assumption sometimes made that I'm a qualified accountant, I can run an accounting business. And that's absolutely not the case, because running a business and having a job are two very, very different things. You've referred to it earlier a few times. You've got to learn marketing. You've got to know how to manage people. You've got to know how to systemize a business. You have to learn how to price. And so what I see over and over again is the people who are successful in business realize that, and they know that it's about knowledge. They have to go out and find the right mentors, the right coaches. They have to buy the courses. They have to buy the training, because you can't figure it all out yourself. I teach pricing because I found that very successful in my accounting firm. But I found that out because I learned about pricing from other people. I had to do the training. I had to learn first, and so we have to be open to learning more stuff to build a successful business.
Yes, absolutely. I get that question a lot when people come into our world, into our Facebook group, and they're considering joining our Bookkeeper Academy. And they say, but I have a little bit of experience with accounting or bookkeeping. And I'm like, well, you have no idea the kind of stuff you're going to learn in the academy, because it's not just that one skill. When you have a business, there is a lot more to learn than just bookkeeping.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, next question. Let's move on to Lynn from Canada. Lynn James says, is your team all working remotely, or do you have office space?
Our team is completely remote. Everyone is working from California, Texas, Florida. We even have people in Canada, Alaska, and the UK. So.
Okay, nice succinct answer. Hope that helps, Lynn. I was actually thinking, when you were answering the previous question, we were talking about the importance of learning, and I actually ran a live session. I think it was about 4 weeks ago now. So what I'll probably do is, and for anyone who's watching the replay, I'll probably make it the recommended next video to watch. But I did a live session on how to design a business that works, and it was very, very similar to a lot of things that you've talked about. And one of the things that I said, having built my business, it took me time because I made so many mistakes in the early years. But one of the things I discovered, and I learned this from Michael Gerber, who's the systems expert, is that you can't just abdicate responsibility. You have to build the system first, and then you train someone to follow the system. Sometimes the mistake we make is we think, oh, I don't know marketing, whatever, I'm going to hire a marketing expert, as if that's the magic bullet that's going to suddenly solve all your marketing problems. And the problem is, it's your business, and your business is very different to every other business. And so the way that you do marketing has to suit your business, has to suit the type of clients you want. Only you can decide that. And so you have to, and I think you talked about this earlier, Tiffany, as a business owner, you have to learn all these things. You have to know what works with marketing. Once you've figured that out, once you've figured out what works with pricing, once you've figured out these things, then you can systemize them, systemize your pricing, your marketing, and then you can hire people to follow the systems. And that's how you build a scalable, systemized business. I guess you've got some thoughts on that as well, Tiffany.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. That's exactly right. And the more simple you can keep it, the quicker and easier it is going to be to scale. And so I always tell my students, here's my plan. You go through our steps. This is how I built a simple, scalable bookkeeping business. But guess what? It's not the only way. So if you go through this, you start it, you find out that there's a couple of things that you want to change, because it suits your life and your personality better, definitely do it. So, but yep.
Okay, awesome. There's at the moment there's no more questions come in. Parul said, "Excellent answer, thank you." And
Awesome.
Kinza Zaster, I think it is. Forgive me if I've got it wrong. Says thank you as well. So I think we, at the second attempt, I think we got the right answer, perhaps an answer that helped. So I'm going to ask what might be the final question, unless something else comes in, which actually Parallel. Whenever I say that, last question, another one comes in. Anyway, my question is going to be, and then we'll pick up on any final ones. My question is for people who don't know who you are, Tiffany. How can they reach out to you? Talk a bit about how you help people in the profession.
Yeah, absolutely. So we help people start a bookkeeping business and really get all of their systems and procedures and stuff like that in place so that they can have a very profitable business where they're making at least $100 an hour when they kind of go back and figure out their time. We don't charge hourly, but we do want them to make at least that. So we help walk them through the whole stage, hold their hand through the whole process. We've got a lot of coaches available. I think we have now like 8 Zoom calls per week that we help our students with. And it's a 12-month program. So you get maximum value and maximum access to our team. But we also have a mastermind that our students graduate into or can join directly in that if they have an existing business or are ready for it. And that's where we help them build a team, get clarity around the services that they want to offer. If they want to be a CFO or offer advisory services, how does that look for you? And how does it look for your current clients? And we help them build out that service offering. And then we also coach them and help them on building a team and who do you need to hire next? What's going to be the best person? What is that job opportunity look like for people, and how do you find these people? So we coach them on those aspects as well. That's what our program mainly is. And you can find us on Facebook. We have a Facebook group called Have Your Cake and Eat It Too, which is our motto of our company, because we really strive to help parents mostly have that balance between financial freedom, but also getting to be the kind of parent that they want to be when their kids are little. So our Facebook group is Have Your Cake and Eat It Too. But we also have a website called stayatHomeBookkeeper.com. And that's got all of our information as well.
Awesome. Thank you, Tiffany. I know that Sarah's now putting some various links into the comments box. So check out the links that are coming through. It might take a while because we're putting them into YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn, but they will get there in the comments feed. We'll put them in the description as well. We do have another question coming, so we'll deal with that. Before I go to that last question, a couple of things for everybody listening, including if you're watching the replay. If you found this valuable, please let Tiffany and I know by just clicking the like button, the thumbs up. And also, I'd love to know, and I think Tiffany would as well, what's the best thing that you've learned out of this session? What's grabbed your attention the most? Just stick it in the comments box. What have you found the most valuable from the session so far? And while you are telling us what's the most valuable bit in the comments, I will go to a question from Parul, which is a really interesting one. So Tiffany, do you feel tired as a solopreneur, or are you enjoying it all the time? Even at the end of the day?
Yeah, so I think that it is a kind of like a journey, right? So it's not going to be the same all the time. What I have noticed is when I start feeling tired, when I start feeling worn out, that's the time where I'm taking on too much. And I need to set better boundaries, maybe hire another team member, maybe restructure, increase prices, something like that. So pay attention to how you're feeling, and that will help you, make better decisions with your business. But I'm not going to say that every single day I'm super happy, but I will say that this is definitely the way to live your life, and I cannot imagine going back and working for someone. There are challenges with being an entrepreneur, but it is worth every single one of them.
Great answer, and I echo that. And I think also as well, the more you think about the type of business you want to build, and you do something that you're passionate about, and you're really selective on working with the right sorts of clients, then business becomes fun. And when you get to have that passion for business, I don't know about you, Tiffany, but to me it doesn't feel like work. It's right. I mean, right now it's 4 minutes to 7 in the evening. I don't always do live sessions in the evening. This is my third one in a row from this afternoon through to 7 o'clock. But I just find the one thing I learned. I'm an accountant by training and ran my accounting firm. But what I found I personally love is helping other people. In my case, I love helping other accounting professionals, accountants, bookkeepers, and I love doing it by sharing my knowledge by training. So to me, even though it is now 7 o'clock in Portugal, I don't feel like I'm working. I'm having great fun doing this, and that's what, when you have that, when you enjoy what you do, you bring more energy to it, you have more fun, and you make more money when you're doing stuff that you enjoy.
Yes, absolutely. And as long as you make those conscious efforts and intentions to take that time off and enjoy the perks. I know some people have a hard time actually enjoying the perks of it, and then they put more on their plate. So I have to actively make sure I enjoy all those benefits. So I choose not to work on Fridays. So, 3-day weekends every week. I mean, you can't beat that.
That's cool. Yeah, it's your business. You create the rules of the game. You decide. Tiffany, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for coming along. Thank you for sharing so much with everybody.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it, because I remember being a little solopreneur sitting in your event just taking notes like crazy on my paper. And so now we're probably going to be a $4 million business by the end of the year. So I hope that encourages your audience to, listen to what you have to say around pricing and take that next step, because it's well worth it.
That's extraordinary. Thank you so much. And hopefully we'll get a chance to catch up again before too long.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So just very quickly for everybody else, just a quick reminder, my next live session is, because this week I'm teaching people in the Value Pricing Academy, so there's no other live sessions this week. Next week, Wednesday, usual time, back to usual time, 4 p.m. UK time on Wednesday. I'll be doing a session, live stream here, same place, talking about how to get stuff done. So join me next week on Wednesday for that. We'll post it in the usual places in social media. Thank you everybody for all your kind words and comments. I see Andrew Hardy is here, which is awesome. Some of you are telling me what's the best thing that you've got out of the session. Angela says inspirational. So if you've enjoyed this, give it the thumbs up, and also just tell me in the comments what's the thing that what's the most you got out of it? What's the best idea or the thing that you're going to do as a result? And what I'm going to do, as I always do, is I'm going to play out with some music for 3 minutes, because that gives me a chance to go through and read your comments. I will see you again online soon. Goodbye for now.
I wasted all my time, I wasted all my nights, I wasted it on someone who's indifferent. It didn't